The alarm tore through the station before I even reached the control deck, and I knew, before anyone told me, that Specimen 41 Ferox was awake. I am the commander of containment operations on the Threshold Research Array, and in 11 years of service I had never heard that alarm sound for real. It was built for a scenario nobody expected to happen, a creature frozen for 400 years, thawed too early by a fault in the cryo system, waking up alone in a steel room full of strangers. By the time I reached the corridor outside Containment Ring 3, the reinforced glass was already cracked in a long jagged line, and the guards stationed there were backing away with their weapons raised and their hands shaking. Through the glass I saw it for the first time. 6 limbs, a jaw built for tearing through hard shells, eyes wide with something that looked less like anger and more like terror. It slammed against the wall again, and the crack in the glass grew another foot. I gave the order to seal the ring and deploy the stun field. It was the standard first response, tested 100 times on smaller creatures with smaller tempers. The field activated with a low hum that vibrated through my boots. The creature shuddered, staggered, and then shook itself the way a wet animal shakes off water. A moment later it drove its head straight through the observation window our engineers had rated as unbreakable. That was the first hour. In the second hour we tried sedative gas, a compound strong enough to put down a warbeast 3 times its size. It filled the ring in seconds, thick and pale. The creature sneezed, snarled, and tore a support beam out of the wall as if it were looking for whatever was making that smell. We tried 2 more compounds after that, each one stronger, each one just as useless. By the 4th hour the creature had opened a hole into the supply corridor and was pacing back and forth inside it, snapping at anything that moved. I authorized an armed response team in the 5th hour, 6 of my most experienced people in full mech armor. I wanted understood that no one was seriously hurt that day, but 2 suits were destroyed, a steel door was bent nearly in half, and every member of that team came back through the airlock white-faced and silent. Nobody said the word failure out loud, but I could see it in the way they avoided my eyes. By the 7th hour, Command was talking about the only option left. Vent the section to open space and lose the creature along with 400 years of data that could never be replaced. I was the one who had to write the order. My hands would not stop shaking as I typed it, because I knew what it meant. Not just a lost specimen, but a living thing that had done nothing except wake up frightened in a place it did not understand. I was still staring at that unfinished order when someone knocked on my office door. Her name was Claire Bennett, and she ran the kitchens on the lower deck. I had spoken to her exactly twice before that day, both times about supply schedules. She was not wearing armor, she had no weapon. She had an apron still tied around her waist and a canvas duffel bag slung over one shoulder, and the whole room filled with the smell of something roasted the second she set that bag down on my desk. She had heard about the creature, she said. Everyone on the station had heard about it by then. She asked me one question that I still think about. How long had it been alone before we found it? I told her our best estimate was 400 years, adrift in a derelict ship, frozen the entire time. She nodded slowly, like that answered something important. Then she said we had spent 9 hours trying to knock the creature out, or scare it into submission, and every single attempt had done nothing but confirm to it that this station was a dangerous place full of people trying to hurt it. I told her this was a matter for security, not for the kitchen staff. She did not argue. She simply asked for 3 things: access to the corridor outside the ring, 30 minutes alone, and a promise that nobody would fire a single shot while she worked, no matter what happened. Every protocol I had ever written told me to say no. I said yes anyway, because I had run out of other ideas, and because some part of me believed her when she said the creature was not dangerous in the way we thought it was. I watched from the observation deck with the station's lead scientist standing beside me, both of us silent, both of us certain we were about to watch something terrible happen. Claire walked into that broken corridor with her bag open and the smell of roasted food drifting ahead of her. She did not run. She did not raise her voice. She lowered herself to the floor about 12 steps from the creature and sat there, calm, unwrapping food onto a cloth in front of her like she had all the time in the world. The creature went still. All 6 limbs stopped moving at once, for the first time since it had woken up. She began speaking to it, low and steady, the kind of voice you use to calm something small and afraid. Not commands, not warnings. Just a quiet stream of words telling it that it was safe now, that nobody in this room wanted to hurt it, that it must be so hungry after all this time, and that she had brought something good for it to eat. It circled her. It snarled once and backed away toward the far wall, watching her with eyes that never left the food. She did not flinch, and she did not move closer. She simply waited, holding a piece of meat flat on her open palm, letting the smell carry across the room. 10 minutes passed like that, then 20. I found myself holding my breath without realizing it. At the 28th minute, the creature took one slow step forward. Then another. Its head lowered, cautious, ready to pull back at the smallest sudden movement. Claire did not move at all. She let it come to her, let it decide on its own terms, and when it finally lowered its head and took the food from her hand, the entire observation deck went completely silent. By the time her 30 minutes were finished, the creature was lying against the corridor wall with its head resting near her lap, calm in a way none of us had seen since the moment it woke up. She was speaking to it quietly, the way someone speaks to an old friend, and it seemed, impossibly, to be listening. When she finally stood and stepped back through the airlock, packing her empty containers into that duffel bag, I did not know what to say to her. 9 hours, 6 trained specialists, 3 sedative compounds, an armed team in full armor. All of it had failed. She had solved it in less than 30 minutes with food and patience. "It is not dangerous," she told me, gathering her things like she had just finished an ordinary shift. "It is frightened." It went to sleep for a moment and woke up 400 years later surrounded by strangers who kept trying to knock it unconscious or drive it away. Nobody stopped to ask what it actually needed. It did not need force. It needed to know it was safe, and it needed to eat. I asked her how she knew that would work. She smiled, tired but certain, and told me that every good cook learns the same lesson early. It does not matter what kind of creature you are dealing with. Hungry and frightened looks the same in almost every living thing, and the answer to both is rarely more force. It is patience, and something warm to eat, and a voice that does not sound like a threat. I filed a full report that night recommending that containment protocol be updated to include a calmer, slower approach before any use of sedatives or armed teams. I expect it will be read, quietly noted, and mostly ignored, because written down it sounds too simple to be true. But I was there. I watched 9 hours of trained specialists, advanced weapons, and every resource this station had fail completely against a problem that one calm person solved with a bag of food and half an hour of patience. I do not think I will ever look at a threat the same way again. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room is not the creature everyone is afraid of. Sometimes it is simply fear itself, left unanswered for too long. And sometimes the person who saves the day is not the one holding a weapon, but the one who understood, before anyone else did, that all it needed was someone willing to sit down, stay calm, and offer a little kindness.